magic.
Very special.
Yes, sir. My name is not Sir. Yes, sir.
I've got nothing to fight for.
I told you what I saw. I need you to survive the night. Survive the night.
There are pilots we remember as legends, but they didn't start out that way. They started out like us. This is our time to make a difference. Do you understand? Jaeger pilots, do you understand?
Y'all remember me?
We fight.
Those on top of me.
John Adedayo Adegboyega. What's up, champ? All right. Good to see you. Yes, sir. All right, no doubt. We can do better than that, Elizabeth. Come on, man. We can do better than that. 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 This is our very own John Boyega. You know, you all know him from everything. All these billboards that y'all see him in. Welcome. So, the acting bug hit you. Secondary school.
Yeah.
Going through this thing. When did it become an itch that wasn't just temporary, that this was like, this is what I have to do?
The earliest I remember deciding to take acting seriously was probably when I was around 14. I just decided that academics wasn't something that I was getting well. And then everything else I tried, and it was just like, yeah, no, mate, it's not for you. I tried to play football. I scored an own goal, and I acted as if I was on the enemy team. So I knew it was acting that was my niche. And at 15, that's when I decided that, you know, I'm gonna try and locate people that can train me or how I can get my skills better.
And there's a in-between time where like, okay, I have to tell my parents that I'm not gonna do what everybody else is doing. Like in as much detail as you can tell us, because there's something there that's pretty much we can all kind of relate to in some way.
Yeah.
Like, how was that talk?
It didn't necessarily happen as a talk. My dad came to see my first ever school play. I was playing an old man who so happened to be an author of a children's book. And so at the time I was like, 10, 11? And my dad came to see it. And when he came to see the play, you know, he started bringing tears from his eyes. I don't know, the reason why I say bring in tears, because I'm not going to say crying. You can't just say you're a bad man that he was crying. You know, no. He was just bringing tears and wiping them. And, you know, I think he noticed what I noticed at the same time, was that I enjoyed doing what I did, and I liked the way the audience would respond to my performance. And I felt like, you know, I wanted to do it more. And my dad has always been there. The big major moment between me and my parents was when I was in first year of university. And I was in my lectures and I was just sad. I hated it. I just like, why did I have to build up my grades to get accepted into university? And now I'm living, you know, potential 9 to 5. It's just not for me.
Right.
And I remember being in a lecture room, and our lecturer at the time was teaching us about film studies and English literature. And as the lecture man was speaking, there was a huge explosion from downstairs. Like, it sounded like an explosion and it felt like an explosion. So all of us, out of curiosity, ran to the windows to see what it was. And it was a film set. They were filming the Pirates of the Caribbean downstairs in the university campus. And I was one of the people. As soon as I saw that, I said, I'm going downstairs. I'm not staying for the rest of this lecture. And as soon as I went downstairs, like, I saw Johnny Depp as Jack Sparrow on top of like carriages, and there was cameras and there was explosions, there was horses, there was, you know, it was like real. And because our university has very olden day buildings. They used it as a location. It's been used in various films. Right. And after I saw him in costume and saw them filming and then getting the makeup done and all of that, I was just like, this is where I belong. I don't belong up in there. I belong here. Now I need to tell my dad I'm going to drop out of university. And that was a prayerful conversation.
All right, we're going to play the trailer for Attack the Block for those of y'all who may not have seen it, but here we go.
Back in the block.
So
I haven't seen that in years. That is weird.
So you have a moment of serendipity, like, and almost like the person who you always get introduced to, who you wanted to be in school, and from that point to you getting your first major role. What was that journey like? That in-between time of trying to land a role and getting this role?
This script came at a time where I was on my first job as an actor, and that was in a theatre play. And then I got a phone call from my agent and Femi Oguns. And if you guys don't know, Femi Oguns is the head teacher of the first black drama school in the UK. He is a Nigerian from Ogun State. And he's the one that, when I met him, like, he changed my life. Like, when I met him, we put our heads together and said, you know what, we're gonna collaborate on thoughts. We're gonna share ideas and plan projects that could possibly work for you. But he was like, you got to go on stage. That's where you got to go first. Stage. You got to know how to be an actor. On stage, it gives you the discipline, the brilliance. It enhances your talent, your work ethic. If you haven't gone on stage and you want to just jump straight into film, you are doing yourself a huge disservice. It's best to start and train on stage before moving forward. And he told me that, and I took the time to do it. And when I did, this script came backstage, and it was in red, and it was from Big Talk Productions. And Femi said, there's open auditions for a role in this movie. I know it's not the kind of role that you like, but guess what? It's about hood kids from South London. It starts off with the same thing you're used to, the robbery, the crime, but then the story goes, aliens come, and then they become heroes. And I was like, that's how John Boyega is going to release himself to the world, for sure.
And as the traction started, were you still very cognizant of, like, okay, I need to be very specific about what I pick? And were you very deliberate as to what I do next and how I do it? Or, because the lure is, as a young actor, for the actors here, is, when is the next paycheck going to come? When do I get the next paycheck? Yeah. And that in-between time, how did you manage that? How did you navigate that?
Man, I suffered, man. Like, I after Attack the Block was released, it then was kind of shown to a few people in the United States. And it's a very weird story, but you just, one thing I would like to say is that you just never know who God is going to connect you with. And sometimes you need to know when to listen. It's not always about who the person is. They might be lower than you, higher than you, but sometimes they have a word or a say that could change the course of your entire life. And that happened to me because Attack the Block was brought to the States to be screened for the studios so they could buy it, so it could be released in America. And Chris Brown and Rihanna was at a screening at Sony Screen Gems, and this guy called Clint Culpepper played Chris Brown Attack the Block. And Chris was like, you need to buy this movie or I'm gonna buy it. And so Sony Screen Gems negotiated and bought Attack the Block and gave Attack the Block American distribution. Now, when I heard Attack the Block was gonna come out in the movie theaters properly in America, I was staying in a motel in Hollywood on Sunset Boulevard, because that was my first time there. So I had done a little drama in the UK, Law and Order, and I used the money from that to pay for a ticket to go to LA. I got to LA and I stayed in the motel, and I was going back and forth to auditions and, meetings and all that kind of stuff. But it wasn't until Attack the Block was released and it started getting attention that then there was a buzz. But the buzz was silent because there was a lot going on at the time. And I just remember being with Femi in the motel and being like, okay, cool, this movie Attack the Block's coming out. We need to push this movie the best way that we can, and I need to introduce myself to the United States. And Femi was just like, well, that's exactly what we're gonna do. So he borrowed me his suit, you know, he pressed it for me, borrowed me his suit, and we went down to the screening, and loads of people turned up, and people like I couldn't have imagined were there. And we did this screening, and all of a sudden I felt like there was gonna be a shift. And then, as you mentioned, after that, my next big break was a TV pilot for Spike Lee. And that was big. Like, everybody was like, wow, this kid from Attack the Block is going to be working with director Spike Lee. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be brilliant. And we shot the TV pilot, and HBO ended up canceling it. Then I was like, wait, I thought Attack the Block was your way of showing me that I was going to... And it defeated me. I went back to London, and I was just defeated. But I took some time off, and Femi called me on one of my off days, and he said that we need to build this buzz back up because you have something, but the phones aren't ringing. People don't want to see you, basically. They don't want to audition you. So there needs to be something dynamic that you do that could get their attention back again. And so I was just like, well, we're not going to get any jobs in America, so what we're supposed to do? He goes, you have to do a job here in England. And that's when I done a TV show called My Murder, which was about a young kid who was murdered because he loved a girl, and it was a honey trap. And this shook the nation. People were very, very moved by it. And that was my way of bringing that back out to the States before then getting the traction with everything else.
Man, that's powerful, man. Because there's a lot of artists here. And what I'm picking up on, I think, resonates the most is, so here you are, this young kid, Attack the Block is doing things. You go to the Screen Gems, you go to the Sony lot, it's nice and sexy, there's all kind of things going on.
They'll make me feel good too. You know, they'll come up to you and say, oh man, you are gonna be huge. You are gonna be great. You're gonna be the star. And you're there like, yes, yes. And then life just comes and says, come, shut up. And then that's the reality.
But that's a very critical time, because if Femi, I'm assuming here, the first thing Femi told you was, you need to go to stage, you need to become an actor, you need to get disciplined, you need to be able to go through the fire of being on the wood. Mm-hmm. So you're getting some Hollywood kind of spice and Hollywood things. And then that dies out. That could be the end of the story for a lot of young people.
Yeah.
Because now look, I've seen this person and that person, and they usher me in offices and all this stuff.
They promised me everything. They promised me every big major studio film, you know, after Attack the Block. It felt like it was heading that way, and it just didn't. Like there was no cause, not even for a little TV part. They wouldn't call me. Like I was like cancer or something. You know, they dodge me, and it was an interesting time. But now, you know, looking back, it was a God-given time because I wasn't ready yet. I wasn't ready for that type of attention. I wasn't ready for that type of money. I wasn't ready for that type of exposure. I wasn't, and I could admit that. You know, I wasn't. I was still young. You know what I mean? You know, back in school, you know, I was a bit of a rude little boy, and so I had a piece of that because I was still living in this environment, and so I was still a bit heated. To talk to me sometimes would be very, very complicated. You know, I hadn't yet found, I think there's a stage, especially in us men, where we calm down. You know, there's that stage where you're just like, I need to just, stop being too, there's a stage. And that stage hit me. And when it did, I started to realize that, okay, cool. Even though I'm defeated, even though the phones aren't ringing, this is a time for me to improve first my character, you know. And then we can go forward and improve in my approach to this career in another way.
And the passion kept burning. It never waned a little bit.
Yeah, because I finally realized also that if you want to work towards something that is so, like, listen, acting, all of this is not in my family. It's not. Nobody does it. My dad is a pastor. My mum has been a caretaker for so many years. Acting is not, you know, I remember my dad being like, what's drama, babasue, or who, you know, like, it's not a concept to them. It's not a concept in my family. So it takes a much more of a, there's much more of a pitch for what you're trying to do. What you're trying to do is not only change your history, but you're trying to change the history of your family. That's what happens, because you are then, like many of us, the first, you know, artistic child or sibling that has decided to go through this artistic path. And so that in itself, you have to fail. Like, you have to. It doesn't make sense. You know, things are going to be easy. You have to fail. Failure is a part of it. You know, if the electricity that we enjoy today is because of, you know, loads of testing and loads of failures. Failures can either make you go, I don't want to do it again, or a failure can make you go, actually, I've just missed it. How else can I do it? You keep on working it and maneuvering it. And that's one thing that I realized while I was in that position, that let me not be too allergic to failure. Failure doesn't dictate the long-term goal. It doesn't at all. But let me use this failure to learn how I can move forward and maneuver these issues as they come.
That's excellent. So we're going to play a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Come on, round of applause. We're going to play another trailer for one of John's films. This is half of Olosunde.
Oh.
Happy Independence.
A special woman is arriving this weekend. Very special.
Yes, sir.
My name is not Sir.
Yes, sir.
Leave my son alone and tell your fellow witches you did not see him.
Wow. Crazy.
Before I get into this, we'll take two questions.
After watching the half of a Yellowstone trailer, do you feel like that's what generally launched your presence in the whole Nigerian era? And do you feel like there's a need to properly like show yourself more in the Nigerian market?
Yes, I think that was my first time not being exposed to Nigeria in general, but really being exposed to filmmaking in Nigeria. It quenched my curiosity. I wanted to know, how do they make films in Nigeria? You know, I'm seeing Blood Sisters 1, 2, 3, and Part Letters 7 and 8, 9. They come out so quickly. Sometimes the sound can be a bit troubling, but there's such great intention and story there that keeps me entertained. I will keep on watching Part 1, Part 2. I want to know if she was the one that poisoned the man from church. I want to know. So this was my way of being involved in the Nollywood space. But the first time I had seen that there was a collaboration from offshore investment, you know. But knowing that Nigeria this was heavily funded from Nigeria, you know, with Nigerians working behind this, I just felt like, yeah, you know, this is my way of just secretly being a part of something like this. And it's very important. It's very important to me, especially right now, to be a part of what's going on here on ground. Because, you know, movies like Black Panther has now opened doors for stories to be told. And it's one of my dreams to realize the most beautiful stories here in Nigeria, but for them to be shot in an elegant and epic way. It takes a lot of developing and planning and time because of the structure here. But the first stage is education. That's why I'm here. I've been here this is my first professional trip. You know, the last times I've been here, I've just been going to party and, you know, enjoying myself. But here is the time I've been, you know, looking into the Nigerian market, meeting the people on ground, seeing exactly how things work. Because the Hollywood side, I know in Nigeria, is kind of like seen as the better side, the more professional. But if Hollywood are to make a move and come here and make movies, we will still have to listen to you. Because there is a work ethic here in Nigeria that needs to be embodied also in Hollywood. If we combine two minds, the positive sides of our minds together, I feel that we can create something else that is unseen or unheard of before. And so that definitely is my long-term mission, you know, being here and reconnecting. Thank you, young man, by the way.
I'll take one more question.
So my question is that for an actor in the Western world or trying to branch over, there are limitations to casting of somebody of our, you know, ethnic minorities and opportunities and whatever. When you start to be on those people's radar, what can you do to be aware of the roles that are available for people of that, of our color and what have you?
Yeah, like your question is how do we get cast in projects?
We further our careers and with regards to limitations to what roles are available.
Well, the main fundamental thing, what you're going to realize is that the limitations of actors are going to be solely based on the individual a lot of the times. It's going to be it's dependent on you. Entertainment is such a crazy industry. Nobody can tell you how you would get in. No one can tell you how you're going to get successful. You will answer that by what you do. The work you put in is going to be all you. But what you have to realize is whatever you're doing, whether it's training, fundamentally training, development. I know we want to make the money now. I know. And you will. But you want to be excellent. You want to be brilliant so that when you get these opportunities, you are the best that you can be. So I would say training is the first fundamental thing. After that, artists find it hard to balance the creative with the business. Once auditions happen, once script starts coming your way, you got to teach it like a lawyer would treat some contracts. Like it's got to be your bread and butter, your Bible, it's your reference. And so I feel like those enhancements make you more dynamic. But in terms of like opportunities for black people, we're ready for you. Because there are people that have gone before us, like if it wasn't for Chiwetel, if it wasn't for Idris Elba, if it wasn't for Noel Clarke, all these people, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't. Because the minds of the industry wouldn't have been open to this concept. So there is already a wave happening, and I'll reference the film again. Black Panther has opened up so many doors. Now in Hollywood, everyone, John, we need an African story. We just need something. There's now that approach. And so there's a buzz that you can ride, but there's also been a space that's been created for you as artists from people prior, people who have come and hustled and made their names. And I see you're going to find that those opportunities will come. But as I said, you gotta hurt a little bit, you got to fail a little bit, and you got to put in the work.
So as an actor is one component of the filmmaking process. Now you've added a producer to that. So be more of a holistic filmmaker, in the filmmaking process of things.
Yeah.
How did that come about for you in terms of like, this was the next evolution in your career, like I had to do this? And how was that process for you? How did you get there?
One time when I was in LA, I had a meeting scheduled with a man called Brian Burke. He works for a company called Bad Robot. Bad Robot do all the Star Trek movies. They do all the big, sci-fi action films. And I was meeting with him. And while I was in the lobby and I was waiting, and actually Dio, I forgot how to say his second name. He was in Terminator Genesis. What's his second name? Okay, he was in the lobby as well. And we were both waiting to go in for our various meetings and auditions. And so as I was walking towards my room, Tom Cruise and J.J. Abrams were walking out of the room. And I was just there like, that's freaking Tom Cruise. And they both stopped, and J.J. stops and he goes, oh, your name is John Boyega, right? And I go, yeah. And he goes, you were in that film Attack the Block? And I go, yeah. He goes, I'm going to get you in something. I will need to think about it, but I'm going to get you in something. And that opened a door for me to have more personal connections with him in terms of conversation. And he would give me pointers as to who to talk to, what's the right business strategy when it comes to certain roles, who to train with for accents, dialects, and all the little technical things we've got to think about. And I remember seeing this big office, and it was creative. And when you walked into the rooms, it was people just spitting ideas. That's all they were doing, ideas and people writing. But it was an office. It was like 4 stories of it. So this was a hub of just people creating stories that you now sit down to watch in cinema. We're going, oh, that was all right. But you paid a ticket though. And so they're doing those things. And I was just like, I want to be a part of that, but I want to make my own camp. But if I am going to make my own camp, I have to probably establish myself as an actor first and then produce. And producing gives you the opportunity to have creative control. If you're an actor and you don't write and tap into your creative side, also doesn't make any sense, because for you to approach a role, you kind of have to embody and imagine a person that's different from you. Your character won't always be the person that you embody, and sometimes you have to embody someone completely different. And so that in itself can give you the motivation to want to create roles for yourself. And so in 2015, once the Star Wars check cleared, I paid tithe and offering. I bought my mum and dad a house. And then I reinvested the money, and I founded Upper Room Entertainment with Femi Organs as my producing partner at the time. And by the way, that's Stefan Wade, who's in the front row. He's my other producing partner over there. So we're all in a house. And I established this company, and I went out to pitch to studios as into the ideas that I had. And I ended up at Legendary Pictures. And I was at first there for a general meeting, and the CEO, Mary Parent, was just like, John, what do you think about Pacific Rim? And I was like, yeah, I like the first film. It was dope. She goes, I've got something to show you. And she pushed the double doors open, and I just saw the suits and the pictures and what she wanted to do with the film. And she was like, we want Upper Room to come and produce this movie, and the co-produced with Universal and Legendary. And I was just like, well, okay. You know, and it gives you creative freedom. It teaches you about the technical sides of the set. Acting isn't the only role in entertainment. Guys, please, it's not the only role. There are focus pullers, there are cinematographers, there are on-set doctors, there are various different roles and layered roles on set. I know it's a bit different on a Nollywood set up in school. Am I right? Or, well, let's do real talk. You know, like, for us to move forward, we have to be able to be honest with ourselves, right? Yeah. But we're getting there. We are getting there. But we know that the dynamics is different. But that's what this conversation is about, and we'll get to that. But it's, for me, just to see that there were so many layers and so many different opportunities made me think that I want to get involved as much as I can. You know, if I can focus pull, even if I can do something on a plank or on a track, I'd love to do it. And so producing was definitely a decision I had to make. Excellent.
We're going to play the big one. This is, I guess, your big coming out party, Star Wars.
Oh, yeah, damn.
The Force Awakens.
I was raised to do one thing, but I've got nothing to fight for.
Just let it in.
That still gets me, man. God.
Mad. So bit mad.
Still gets me. So Star Wars happens, and I know like there's a point like you get a phone call, it's like my life would never be the same again.
Yeah.
Like it's like you get that phone call and things have just changed. Like,
yeah.
How was that moment when that happened for you?
Star Wars came at a very, very interesting time. At the time, I found that now I could audition in front of the big studios. I was getting studio auditions, but I wasn't necessarily booking anything. So I went up for Maleficent. I auditioned for Maleficent. I auditioned for Snow White and the Huntsman. I auditioned for what else did I go up for? I went up for so much stuff at the time. Oh, Kingsman.
Narnia?
Kingsman. Chronicles of Narnia. Yeah. Like I was trying to get in on all these big ones. And Star Wars came at a very interesting time because Star Wars came when I thought to myself, maybe I need to take a bit of a break, and because I'm tired, you know, I'm tired. Like this whole thing is just it's starting to eke me, it's starting to get on my nerves. You know, the money's not right. I'm trying to get to auditions. My car's being towed. Like I'm like, how am I supposed to get to audition now? And the space that it left. I don't know if your car's been towed before. But the worst thing is when you're just looking at the space, still looking for the car. Like, where did it go? You know the truth, but it's the reality of it. These things will happen back to back. And it was so frustrating. It was annoying. And then I felt sorry for my parents as well because financially things are not going well. But at the same time, they would expect, at least if things are not going well for us financially, you be in school. Like you secure your future. And in that time, it didn't look as if I was. And I'd always be at home, but when I was at home, I was studying. Like I was studying, I was referencing, I was watching all my films, I was reading over contracts, I was ready, like I was getting myself prepared, I was training, I was doing everything I needed to do. but the timing of it just wasn't right. And with Star Wars, it's so funny and interesting. Every actor around me, because you know how we all have actor friends, you know, we all have our little circles. And I don't know if this ever happened to you, when everybody else gets an audition but you, it's for the same thing. And you're just there, oh, they got an audition for this. You're like, and your voice goes all high, like, good luck. Good luck. Have fun. And that's what I was doing. And my boys would come up to me and be like, yo, man, I got this cool audition. What's the audition for? Man, Star Wars. Can you help me put me on tape? And I put people on tape for my role as Finn. I would be behind the camera and put them on tape for it and help them with their lines and all this kind of stuff. And I was thinking, like, Lord, like, what the hell's going on? Everyone else is getting auditions but me, but yet I'm putting people on tape for the same film. Where's my shot? Where's my chance? And I called Femi, and Femi was like, I was like to Femi, like, where's my audition? What's going on with that? Where am I going to get an opportunity? And he goes, John, mate, will I ever fail you? And he was just like, don't worry. What you need to know is that the casting director that cast you in Attack the Block is the casting director for Star Wars. So what we're going to do is we're going to get you in that door. But he goes, and he told me something very important. He said, I can only get you in. The rest is up to you. So, you know, sometimes when we're looking in the industry, we're like, well, that director didn't, the writer didn't, and those things are true, but a lot of stuff relies on us as actors because we are the face of our projects. We are the brand of our projects. We are the reason why people go to see it. There's an interest there, there's an intrigue. And so Femi was just like, you got to go in that room and embody it. And I knew that this was it. This was it. Like, it was either I book Star Wars or I'm going to go to Jamaica and sell pineapples or do something. Like, this is it. Like, this is, there's no joke. I really need to go in on it hard. And I went to the first audition, and the first audition was horrible because I was so nervous. And I was so nervous because there's something about getting your big break. You know, we all pray, we all hope, we all wish for the big opportunity to come. When it comes, it's scary, you know. I don't know if you guys, are into the generic biblical sayings like, you know, my cup runneth over. Sometimes it's runneth over. It's too much. Stop. You know, it's that feeling. It's a lot to bear, and I had to be ready for it. And being in that process was so interesting for me because my first audition didn't go well. And the casting director, Nina, she said, John, look, what you just did there was crap. It was nonsense. What you need to do is calm down, get it all together. We need to get just one clip on tape that can work. It doesn't need to be perfect. You just need to embody what you read on the text, embody it to the truth of your character at this present time because we didn't know who the people who they were because they titled them as Hero 1 and Hero 2. Which is Rey and Finn. And we didn't know who these people were. So we were just reading these characters out of our own brains. And then I got a phone call while I was on the train. At the time, I was having very serious credit issues. So I hired a Nigerian lawyer, and he was based in Tottenham. So I went to go and see him, discussing how he can try and change my bank from minus into plus. And as I was on the train, Femi called me, and he said, yeah, John, J.J. Abrams wants to see you for your second audition of Star Wars. And I was on the train, and it was packed, and I was just like, do you know what I mean? I was like, okay, cool. Now I'm going to really put the work in. And it happened over the series of 8 months I was auditioning for Star Wars. I was going back and forth. And I had to deal with real talk. I had to deal with real talk from professionals. That's another thing. If you want to be dynamic in this industry, be new, be fresh, come with a purpose and a meaning, you're going to learn how to take correction. It's fundamental. You can't be too sensitive. Your emotion can't be the only thing that you prioritize. You have to prioritize your well-being. Because if someone is real enough, and of course, this has to be someone that you trust and that you've gone through a process and now you respect. But if this person tells you something that is of benefit to your career, you have to learn to listen. And at the time, they were like to me, John, you fat. You need to lose some weight for this role. Star Wars is not going to move further if you don't lose the weight. And so I was in the gym. I would travel all the way down to northwest London to train with a particular trailer. And I would like work, and I was drinking like gallons of water a day. I carried it with me everywhere I went. And I was just focused, and I would watch the behind the scenes Star Wars special features. It was about the other actors before that had auditioned for the parts. And I used that as my motivation, and I was going back and forth into these auditions. And then things looked like it was going well. They kept calling me back. They brought me in with other actresses, other stars. They were, telling me, bringing me to the set and stuff, showing me what they were about to do. I'm like, okay, cool. Things are going well. And then there was another spike. I'm sorry, guys. My story goes like this. It's never easy. It looks easy, which I'm grateful for, by the way. But it's never easy. And I remember when I auditioned, I had previously been doing a night shoot on a TV show I did called 24. And at that time, I was auditioning for Star Wars, and I didn't tell Star Wars that I had filmed so late because I was a bit too prideful, and I should have just opened my mouth. So when it came to my final Star Wars audition, I ruined it because I was tired. I forgot my lines. Like, you have to remember your lines, but you think you've got it, and it just goes out of your head. And it was really, really rubbish. And it was embarrassing because at the time, it felt like, oh, I've hustled for this opportunity, but now I'm here. I've ruined it. I've come so far, like it's been 7 months. And when I went back, a lot of things happened. I then got an offer to be in Terminator. And I then got another offer to be in Power Rangers. And then I then got another offer for other movies. I'm thinking, what's going on? And the kind of gossip around town was just like, John Boyega is auditioning for Star Wars, and it might happen. So all the other studios, which you'll find, now want to claim you. And I got a call from Zack Snyder while I was in one of my friend's house. He just called me, and he said, I want you to be in Justice League. I want you to be Cyborg. And I'm like, tell me more. Let me just sit down for one. Tell me more. And he explained the role to me, and I was very, very excited. But the dilemma is, and a lot of these projects, is that when you test for a movie, they have first refusal on you, which means you can't book any other part unless you tell them, I'm done. So these 3 movies are circling, and they want me to star in it. But Star Wars are not letting me know whether I've got the part or not. So we're in a dilemma again. And my agents from the States, they had to fly over to London. And when they flew over, they spoke with my agent. We were like, what are we going to do? And they were like, John, this is your option. You either pick Terminator, you either pick one of these films and miss out on Star Wars, or you wait for Star Wars and end up missing everything. And I just remember being like, you know what? Let me contact a few pastors, ministers. Let me just give me 1 second, because this is not a small thing. Something like Star Wars, you're either set up for life, or you're going back to your normality. This is spiritual now. No, seriously, this is past this. There's nothing physical I can do right now. This is beyond me. So I went to my mum. My mum has a great eye. She sees things. She sees, she dreams. And her prayers are just, she's on her knees constantly. And I went to her and I said to her, Mum, there's an opportunity. All I need you to do is just pray for me. That's all I need. She said, I've been praying for you. What's the difference? What's the difference? And I was like, okay. And I went through the process, and Femi called me, and we were all sat in a meeting. Now my agents, my representation at the time, they didn't have faith or hope in this happening. They were kind of like, you better get one of these films that is offering you something. But we were like, imagine we miss out on Star Wars, man, because we just wanted to book something. Let's imagine that. I was like, you know what? And Femi was just like, John, man, come on, man, we're Nigerian, mate. We're going to take the risk, man. That's what we do. We take risks. We go into lands that we've never seen before, and we establish ourselves. It's in our blood. It's what we do. So you can't even, there's no option. You go for the most dangerous one. And I was just like, you know what? Say no to everybody else. I'm just going to stick with Star Wars. And I can't lie. It was a heroic moment, but in my heart, I was like, oh, hey. Like, this is bad. This is a really bad situation. And I stuck with it. And I remember I'd done my last audition. And my last audition, all the heads of Disney, like, they came in and they were sitting there, with the water and the suits, and they were looking. And I auditioned in front of them, and in front of JJ, the director. And I don't know what came over me, but in that audition, I just felt like I gave it all. It was like, whatever, man. I don't care. Like, even if I get it, if I don't get it, I'm gonna still do what I'm doing. And I left. And one night we had the Half of Yellow Sun premiere. I went to go see the movie. And when I went to go see Half of Yellow Sun at the premiere, I got various missed calls from Femi calling my phone. I was like, what's going on? But we were at the screening with Tandy, with Chuita. I'm like, hey, I need to stay respectful, keep my phone in my pocket. So I only realized until the next morning that I had so many phone calls on my phone that I had to call Femi. And I was like, Femi, what's wrong? He goes, John, yeah, John, just check just check your email, okay? Because Femi really stutters, and when he gets really nervous, he stutters. He's like, okay, right, just check your emails, right? Yeah. There's an email there for you, man. Just go check it. I go, okay, cool. I'm gonna go check the email, and I check the email, and it's from J.J. Abrams, the director, and he goes, John, come to Mayfair now. Now, I only had £75 in my account at the time, and I remember how much I had because I was saving that for another malarkey, and so I was just like. I was in Catford at the time, and I had to go all the way down to Mayfair. Can someone explain that in Lagos terms? Island to mainland. Otito. So that was the journey for me, and I ended up using my card. If you use a black card in London, it takes all your money. You know, especially when you're going for. I ended up using my card in the machine. And it minused my account. I was like, I'm gonna go to Mayfair. I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know what they're gonna tell me no. I don't know what they're gonna tell me yes. But I'm just gonna go. And I was in a taxi. If I hadn't felt every muscle in my body that day, I really truly did. Because your heart is pulsating, your chest is beating, your blood is boiling. And I was just like, I don't even understand what's gonna happen. And I went there and I went to this restaurant. One side was busy, the other side was empty. And J.J. Abrams was just sat there on a table and he was on his phone. And he looked up at me and said, yeah, sit down. And I sat down. And you know when you're just nervous, you're like, you just start to notice everything. The sweat in your back is making you itch. You know, you're just feeling very, very uncomfortable. And he was just like, he looked up and he said, John, I just want to thank you. We know that it's been a long process for you. And he goes, and I was just there like, oh, the butt, kilo, like really? No, please. And he goes, you know, you don't start with vote of thanks, please. That means something is not right. And he said, we respect you for everything you've done, and there's just a few questions that I need to ask you. And he goes to me, are you ready to become a leader? Because this will mean something more than just a role. People will look and be like, this is inspirational. And he was like, are you ready to do that? I said, I thought it was my chance to maybe try and buy another audition. I said, JJ, look, I know I messed up on the last one. Let me try and explain myself. And he goes, okay, John, do you have any skeletons in your closet from the past that we need to know about? And I was like, look, Pastor Son, okay, I've had a couple school fights, you know, I've had some girlfriends from London. Who hasn't? Don't judge me. And so I'm like, yeah, nothing major, nothing that you wouldn't, I live a peaceful life, I'm a peaceful guy. And he was just like, okay, cool, no criminal record? No criminal record that had been caught for. And so we had those discussions. And he said, okay, cool. And I thought it was my moment to explain and say, I want to get this audition. I go, yeah, JJ, please, can you? He was like, John. I go, JJ, can you please just let me explain? He goes, John. I go, JJ, let me say, he goes, John, you're the new star of Star Wars. And I was like, and I remember just looking at the sugar cubes. There were sugar cubes in a glass. And I was just looking at the sugar cubes because everything now changed. I don't know why. The colors on the wall were now brighter. The sun was shining. Like I felt amazed. I was just like, I was just in shock. I felt relief. It's like my mind in that 1 second went back to everything I went through to get to the point, everything I sacrificed, every money I spent trying to explain to people you have a dream and they don't believe you, everything. It went back there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
And sorry. Because I suffered so much for this. Like I put my whole life into it. And it's hard trying to explain to people that you have a dream and you have a vision and your life has never reflected that. Your family doesn't reflect that. My mum and dad were seen as just a number in a minority in the UK, that were given average wage. That's something that were seeing. And for me, I was just like, my life has changed. Like, my life has changed in this very moment. And I remember I walked down the street. Thank you, love. I don't even know why I cried. Lord is mercy. Anyway, you know I'm keeping it real with you, but oh, Lord. But you know when you go back and look at how things have gone, I know you guys have your own stories. Sometimes it just makes you well up. And for me, I just remember leaving that restaurant and everything just felt great. Mind you, I didn't even have money to get home. And I walked from Mayfair to Tottenham Court Road to go and meet Femi. And I walked in the street, I was just there like, woo! And for some reason, it just looked like God had just kissed the city. It was sunny. Everyone was smiling. If I could high five everybody for no reason, I would. High five. And I went to Femi, and Femi was waiting in there, and he was nervous, and he goes, yeah, John, yeah. So what's going on? What's going on with that? I go, Femi, we did it. We made history. We did it. And we just hugged. We were just like, but then it's straight to work. You get to work. The next day they were like, you have to train. It was serious. It was just like, this is it. This is your life now. I had to get, now I have to get a publicist. I know that I'm going to be traveling. And I know that this is the last few months of real privacy in the public world that I'm going to get. So it was a very, very, and sorry for this long-winded answer, but it was a very, very crazy time in my life in which I was just like, not every risk works, and not every risk I've taken has worked, but what it has done is guided me as into the right risks. It's guided me. And I'm so grateful for what happened with that.
Praise
we were
God.
very happy.
Praise God. Praise God. I want to play the Detroit trailer, and this movie is kind of interesting for me because I just saw it 3 days ago.
Oh, wow.
I didn't even know I was going to meet you again. So play the Detroit trailer.
Hello. Oh, everything is fine. No trouble here. I'll sleep when they stop riding.
Hey, fellas, I'm going to that grocery store across the street. I come bearing gifts.
Thank you. You got any sugar?
Don't push it, man.
Tell me exactly what is going on here.
I need you to survive the night.
So I'll take one question. Demi.
So I've heard it said in some circles that it's interesting how there's no Nollywood actor who has gone on to mainstream success. And I wanted to find out, one, what do you think is responsible for that? And I know you had mentioned earlier getting your training, getting disciplined. And for someone, you've gone to get your training, you have your CV, you have your showreel. What next?
In terms of Nollywood, I think there's an obstacle that's bigger than anybody, which is cultural. You know, when we come over to Nigeria, you know, we've had an exposure to you guys already. First through the beatings of our parents, and then on through the culture that they exposed to you. So you have both sides. You have both London, and you have both, you know, the African side of life. I don't think it's as that potent if you're raised in Nigeria. You're not exposed to everything British or everything American solely. So you have a very strong culture here, and sometimes the accent can be a barrier for most mainstream roles. And it's changing now, and I think it should change. I don't think a standard American should be the standard for leading roles in major movies. We've seen now in Black Panther, you know, the accents are slightly coming towards where it's home. But, you know, for me, I think that's the first obstacle, will be cultural. But then the second one also is that it's kind of like sad that there isn't training here that can access, you know, those who have the talent. Because when you're first starting out as an actor and you're fresh, your skills are going to be rough and you won't notice it. You'll be doing things with your face that you just don't notice that are not really natural for certain scenes and certain conditions. And if you have no one to tell you, how are you able to grow? But I think that's an obstacle. But I think at the same time, though, there is hope in the internet. There's massive hope, and people don't use it as much as they should. There are B-rolls online, there are scripts online, there are interviews from all your favorite actors that are inspiring and motivational. There are dialect coaches online that you can do. And it's crazy that I've heard about a lot more roles that have been looking out into Africa for parts, but they just never come to Nigeria. I've never really understood that. But that's something that we're working towards trying to figure out. But in terms of what's next for me, is sleep. I'm tired. I am gone. I'm knackered. So I'm gonna do sleep, and then I shoot the final Star Wars in July. So this is gonna be our final Star Wars movie for the year, and then I'm done for a bit.
All right, so I'm gonna play I'm gonna play 2 trailers back to back, and I will round it up after that. So I'm gonna play Star Wars: Last Jedi and Pacific Rim: Uprising.
When I found you, I saw raw. Come on! Destiny.
I need someone to show me my place in all this.
That's gangster. Let's play Pacific Rim.
Jake, your father always said he wanted you to be a pilot.
He said a lot of things. I'm not a hero like he was.
The kaiju. They're gonna come back.
We're gonna need more pilots. We have them. Who is that?
Definitely not one of ours.
Jaeger pilots! Do you understand?
One way to find out.
That's what I'm talking about!
So you were very instrumental, and when you came by in December, you talked about how you were instrumental in getting WizKid on the soundtrack.
Oh, yeah.
You know, of Pacific Rim. Yeah. And as you're now taking a more, creative role in decision-making capacity as a producer and stuff like that, there are lots of very many talented people in this room. And are you part of the solution to maybe incubating and harnessing some of the talents in Nigeria to maybe funneling them to get to other platforms? Is that something you'd be willing to do with your production company?
I mean, that's why I'm here.
All right, then.
That's a big reason why I'm here. I think Nigeria is an untapped market with stories. Hollywood are in a drought of original stories. They're looking for more stories that are unique, dynamic, and diverse. That's the big thing right now. And I feel like Nigeria can't be ignored, just in terms of the stories we have historically, but also the stories that we have that are much more in the fantasy realm as well. And so for me, what I would love to do is relive my experience and the type that I had on Half Yellow Sun and bring a movie here, and I want to star in it. But also I want to find a way of merging both worlds and put in some great Nollywood actresses and actors in a project that will be great. But it starts with development. It starts with a story, and I have to rush off after this to go to like a meeting and meet animators because I can't do this without Nigerians. So many stories have been told about Nigeria without Nigerians, and that's why when you've watched it, you've been like, this is weird. It doesn't really suit our culture. And so for me, I find that being as in from both worlds, I can act as like a bridge, to merge the worlds, and it takes time, it takes knowledge, but we're taking it as slowly as we can because we want to be delicate with development. Development takes a very, very long time if you want to have a movie out that could change the game, especially for the industry here and abroad. And I think there's a major opportunity in what we're doing here. And right now we're in the brainstorming room, in upper room, and trying to find this beautiful, elegant story. I mean, there won't be one, there'll be a few, but we're hunting for it. And so we've been meeting with some people, and it's been fun to see how people have reacted, the ideas that I've heard, and it's been cool.
Oh, wonderful. Cool. Well, thank you, John. I'm going to take a few questions, just very few. I'll try to spread it out as equally as possible. There's a young man with a hand up there. I'm going to start with him over there, and I'm going to come with you. I ain't going to forget y'all on this side, man. Don't worry about it. Huh? Not this.
Oh, yeah.
I can't. What are you saying?
He's been trying to ask a question for long.
All right, brother, you got it, man. Speak on it.
For so many years. Wow. Woo. Yes.
Hello? Can you guys hear me?
A short question so other people can get opportunities as well.
My name is Fisayo Fosudo. I'm
Lovely
a
to meet
creative. I'm also a YouTuber. I'm trying to create something new in Nigeria, like
Mhm.
tech, focusing on technology.
Yeah.
I review phones, and it's something that has not really been done here.
Yeah.
So I've been getting a lot of companies, reaching out to me as well. So like the creative aspect, I make videos, and also, dealing with these companies, bringing contracts.
Mhm.
How do you manage all that?
I think first of all, if you're working by yourself, it could be pretty risky. I think before you endeavor on any business opportunity with either a corporation or a second-hand business, you should always have a representative. Sorry, it's very, very important because on top of the fact that they know how to handle paperwork, at the same time, it's good to have someone speaking for you, just so that emotionally, you're obviously attached to what you do. You're very passionate about it, but you sometimes need to see the business aspect and what could be right or wrong. But I think any business with art is always going to be a balancing act, and you will learn as you go on. Because I didn't know that you did YouTube and you're developing that kind of around tech. I didn't know that, but that's something quite cool that you're doing. I don't believe that you are at the same place you were when you started. Right, so there's a journey to be had, and I think that you can't have that journey just by yourself. So try and get some people that will be on the same light mind to back you.
This has been John Boyega, Saturday City Masterclass. Thanks so very much for coming.
Thank you. I hope you had a good time, yeah. I didn't want to be one of those passports that make me sleep. No, thank you so much for supporting me, everyone. Seriously, thank you for your support.
So the refreshments we over here, so just go through this door.
Hi, this is John Boyega. I'd like to say a big thank you to Accelerate TV. You guys are doing amazing things, inspiring young people all around the freaking country, and I am so excited to be a part of this movement. Thank you for supporting me. Thank you for the love. Love you guys.
My name is Oscar. You don't enter Ninja Matrix. If you press this button, you go subscribe. If you press this button, you go watch another video. Which one you want to do?